Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vradakasa Vistotra Satya Sri Simala His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charandarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vidin Ki Skandi Viti Founder Sharya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtana Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande All glories to the Samadhavati All glories to the Samadhavati All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanandana Sarakaya Takshuramiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakamsana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusutiri Tanamami Hari Priye Vansakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Pranam Brahma Samitam Utamashloka Charitam Jakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Sarabhyay Namaha.
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 Mukam karoti vachalam tvangum langayate girim yatripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our morning program and morning Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 17, which is entitled The Punishment and Reward of Kali. Today we're looking at text number 1818. Yes. Na vayam klesha vijani yatha syuhu purushashabha purusham tam vijanimo vakya veda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yata syu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yata syu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Navayam klesha bijani Yata syu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha
Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha
Navayam klesha bijani Yatasyu purushashabha Purusham tam vijanimo Vakya veda vimohitaha
Navayam klesha bijani यतशु पुरुषार्थसभा
यतशु पुरुषार्थसभा
पुरुषं तं विजानीमो
पुरुषं तं विजानीमो
वाक्यभेदा विमोहितः
वाक्यभेदा विमोहितः
न वयं क्लेशबीजानि
न वयं क्लेशबीजानि
यताशु पुरुषार्थसभः
यतशु पुरुषार्थसभा
पुरुषं तं विजानीमो
पुरुषं तं विजानीमो
वाक्यभेदा विमोचितः
वाक्यभेदा विमोहितः
not vayam we kleshabijani.
क्लेशबीजानि
The root cause of sufferings.
the root cause of sufferings
Yatah,
यतः
where from? Shuhu,
shu
it so happens.
it so happens
Purusha Rishabha,
Purusharishava,
O greatest of all human beings.
O greatest of all human beings,
Purusham,
Purusham,
the person.
the person,
Tam, that. Vijanimaha,
Vijanimaha,
no.
no,
Vakyaveda,
Vakyaveda,
difference of opinion.
difference of opinion,
Vimohitaha,
Vimohitaha,
bewildered by.
bewildered by.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Translation. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Can you repeat after me? O greatest among human beings,
O greatest among human beings,
it is very difficult to ascertain
it is very difficult to ascertain
the particular miscreant
the particular miscreant
who has caused our sufferings,
who has caused our sufferings,
because we are bewildered
because we are bewildered
by all the different opinions
by all the different opinions
of theoretical philosophers.
of theoretical philosophers.
Purport. There are many theoretical philosophers in the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect, especially about the cause of suffering and its effect on different living beings. Generally, there are 6 great philosophers. Kanada, the author of Vaisheshika philosophy. Gautama, the author of logic. Patanjali, the author of mystic yoga. Kapila, the author of Samkhya philosophy. Jaimini, the author of Karma Vimamsa. And Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Darshana. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their sufferings, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses. For otherwise, the sufferings should have been greater. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get a statement of accusation against the direct mischief monger, but they declined to give it on the above mentioned grounds. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord. They try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are themselves bewildered, and thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Translation again. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Yeah. Very important topic being discussed in this conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and the personification of Dharma in the form of a bull, and the personification of Mother Earth in the form of a cow. Every single living entity in the material world experiences on a regular basis different types of suffering. Shastra is describing three main types of suffering, referred to as adibhotik, adhyatmik, adidaivic. Sufferings which none of us can avoid. And everyone is perplexed as to why I am suffering, why suffering comes to, that expression is there, why do bad things happen to good people, and why do bad things or good things happen to bad people, isn't it? We see people, some people are very sinful and they continuously win some lottery or something. They get all kinds of good things happening to them even though they are sinful. And then on the other hand we have those who are very pious, very religious, very moral, and all kinds of bad things seem to happen to them. Why? Isn't it? So this conversation, Parikshit Maharaj is asking, who is causing this suffering to you? Addressing the bull. And here it mentions how he is not answering because there are many causes, mostly unknown to all of us actually, because a vast majority of living entities in the material world are devoid of proper understanding, devoid of Vedic understanding. It is only when we begin to read and understand what is called the basic tattva. Tattva is a very important subject matter. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that we can only begin to understand about what is reality, what is the truth, by actually receiving knowledge from bona fide spiritual master. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Tattvadarshinaha. Tattvadarshinaha means to have darshan. To have darshan means to see, to understand what is tattva, what is the truth, what is the cause of my suffering. And most people, most of us, even very often as devotees also, when something bad happens, we immediately want to chastise that person or rebuke that person. We want to correct the situation, not knowing, not understanding that actually very important principle, very hard principle to actually accept, that every single dose of suffering that comes our way, and it's coming all the time in so many different forms, and most of the time very unexpected also. All of the suffering that is happening in the material world, to each and every single individual, there is no other cause other than our own selves. Isn't it? Because we have forgotten that we have lived in so many forms. We've had human forms many times before. And of course, it's only in the human form that we can create karma. Animals, they don't perform sin. Animals, they are simply living out their good and bad karma, isn't it? We're also living out our good and bad karma, but different from other living entities, we have a choice of putting an end actually once and for all, a permanent solution, Prabhupada calls it. We have the opportunity of bringing a permanent solution to all of our sufferings. And there's only one way that actually this can be done. There's so many different paths, so many different processes of spiritual life. However, unless one comes to the process or takes up the process of bhakti, pure devotional service, then the residue of karma will continue, isn't it? Bhakti is that only process that can burn up, mentioned here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, those who take up the process of bhakti, devotional service, pure devotional service is so powerful that it burns up even the seeds of sin. We all carry with us, isn't it? The different types of, different manifestation of sinful activities. The very fact that we have this body with all its good and bad elements means that we're sinful. The very fact that we take birth means that we are living out previous sinful activities, because those who become sinless in the material world and who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, they have no more business to be in the material world. So this is what we are all endeavoring to achieve, actually, by taking up the process of devotional service. Of course, it's not only simply to stop our suffering, but it is to actually begin to really experience what is, Prabhupada calls it, the birthright. The birthright of all living entities is to be eternally in a loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be completely in experiencing transcendental happiness. Happiness is, as Prabhupada, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, it is a birthright. Everyone by nature has that quality, that innate quality, that inner quality of being eternally happy and joyful. Krishna is described, isn't it? Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha. Ananda. He is Sat, eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, and Ananda, full of happiness or bliss. So the Jiva, we are all Jiva, soul, spirit soul. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loki, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are the eternal parts and parcel of Krishna. So we also have these three qualities. And the soul, not the body. Body is not eternal. Body is not in knowledge also, and the body is full of suffering. But the soul, by nature, when freed, this can only be experienced when we are freed from or disconnected from the modes of material nature. And that is only possible by taking up the process of bhakti. So therefore, as we go along in our lives, in our daily lives, we are all in our own different situations. We have different relatives, we have different parents, we have different cousins, children, etc. And it's a whole mixture of good and bad. In Kali Yuga, there's more bad, more suffering. Kali Yuga is especially the time for those who have been most sinful, actually, isn't it? People who are born in Kali Yuga are considered to be, that's why we are born in Kali Yuga, the most sinful, the most fallen. And normally in Kali Yuga, there's like no hope. It's like we're sentenced, it's like we're sentenced for to suffer. It's like a hellish condition practically. But fortunately, yes, fortunately for all of us, because of the advent of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago, in the Shastra it is explained how when Lord Krishna appears, and he appears only once in one universe, once in the day of Lord Brahma. And he appears and performs his Leela for 125 years. So just imagine what is the percentage of 125 years in one day of Lord Brahma. Probably like 0.000.
Yes.
And it just continues 0, and at one point you get 1. Very, very rare. Because there's so many universes, and the Lord, He's continually performing His Leela. So He goes from one universe to another. Or His Leela continues, because His pastimes are eternal. So that means that the material, there's so many universes. You cannot imagine, isn't it? And whenever the Lord appears in one universe, then immediately or shortly after, Lord Chaitanya appears. Lord Chaitanya also appears only once in the day of Lord Brahma. So, and he appears especially to give us that opportunity, those who are born in the stage of Kali, to come out of, but only for a very short period of time also. He appears, as he did 500 years ago, which is when this, we could say, door of opportunity, a very short period of time, 10,000 years of Kali Yuga, is when those who are fortunate to come in contact with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which are basically, essentially, giving us the science, knowledge of Bhakti, of devotional service, which, that is why it is explained, normally people, they take many, many lifetimes to gradually rise from the lower modes of nature and finally come to the mode of goodness, and then if they're fortunate, come in contact with people who are above the mode of goodness, means devotees, in pure goodness. But in Kali Yuga, it can happen within one short lifetime of Kali Yuga, which is not more than, for most people, not even 100 years, not even 90 years, not even 80 years, and it's continually going down. So we need to cultivate and understand the workings of material nature, isn't it? That all of these bad things, all of this suffering that is taking place, and nowadays we know how intensified the suffering is in the material world, and that is, of course, because we are disconnected with the principles of dharma, and we are simply receiving, isn't it? Reaping what we have sown in our previous lifetimes. So therefore, this is the proper understanding that is given. As mentioned here, there are many philosophers, even within the Vedic context, there are different philosophers bringing forth different understandings. We are fortunate to be connected with the author, the writer, the compiler of the entire Vedic literatures, Srila Vyasadeva, who is presenting the Vedanta Sutra, and the commentary of that Vedanta Sutra is in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it means that two things. One, when we begin to understand that we are ourselves the author and the source of all of our suffering, then we won't blame others, and we will try to prevent or reduce and ultimately bring to a full stop all kinds of activities that will bring about later on, that could bring about, will, not could, will, bring about karmic reaction in the form of various sufferings. And secondly, we should endeavor to bring this understanding, to bring this knowledge to others so that they can learn how to deal with their suffering, because most people don't know how to deal, isn't it? Most people are in a very, very deplorable condition. You know, it is estimated, someone was sharing just recently, how in America, and it's probably very similar in other countries as well, but it is estimated that every 7 minutes someone commits suicide in America because cannot tolerate the kind of sufferings that one is experiencing, isn't it? And one of the major sufferings in the world is connected with loneliness. Although we have all kinds of facilities to communicate, people are more than ever before experiencing loneliness. And that's one of the reasons why people are wanting to put an end to their lives. And and it's a very major problem. It is so serious problem. I was visiting, where was it? Sweden. Sweden, as you may know, since many decades is like been very liberal in so many ways and allowing all kinds of course that's common in more and more countries, but Sweden was one of the countries that started being very liberal and allowing people to do whatever they want. It's one of the countries that has that problem of loneliness to the highest level, so much so that the government created a ministry for loneliness. So there's a lonely minister in charge of ministry for loneliness. I mean, it's that severe. It's that situation has become so bad. So Krishna consciousness actually is giving us that knowledge, that information, and that opportunity to actually reconnect. Because ultimately everyone is lonely until we reestablish our forgotten and lost relationship with Krishna. We're all longing for for happiness, which can only come when we establish proper, tangible, long-lasting, isn't it, relationships. And of course, all the relationships in the material world are temporary, are temporary and full of miseries as well, isn't it? Even in the best scenario, where people fall in love and have a good, so-called good relationship till the end of life, yeah, it's only for a few short years. So our longing is actually for a permanent relationship, for a deep, long-lasting, fulfilling relationship, which is only possible on the level of the soul, of the Atma, and that is only possible with Krishna, with the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, we can and should establish relationship with devotees, but we should know also that, of course, devotees, because they are devotees practicing Krishna consciousness, our relationships will continue in the spiritual world. But ordinary material relationships, it's described in the Bhagavatam, just like in the rainy season. So much of water is coming, and then it makes rivulets and it's all kinds of debris and pieces of wood. They come and unite together, they come and separate like that. This is what is happening in our lives, actually. All of us, we come together. Sometimes we're playing the role of father, sometimes next life we're the son of that person who was their father. It's all based on the law of karma. And of course in Kali Yuga, the main feature is this suffering. So the only way to bring an end to all suffering in the material world is to come to that platform of permanent happiness, which is only possible. That's nicely described by Srila Rupa Goswami. 3 levels of happiness: material happiness, spiritual happiness, and beyond spiritual happiness is devotional happiness. It is called Prem Ananda, the Ananda, the happiness, the bliss, when we are reawakened to our natural loving relationship with Krishna. And that comes through especially seva. That's why Premananda is equated with Sevananda. Prabhupada uses that term, which is very nice, and explains how the more we engage in bhakti, bhakti means seva. Every morning we offer prayers to Srimati Tulasi, kindly engage us in devotional service to Radha and Krishna, isn't it? So seva is of a different dimension. Seva, bhakti, devotion is from the spiritual world, is on the spiritual transcendental platform. And so in this way, devotees, even though suffering, it's not that when we become devotee, the suffering will not be there. But we will know why the suffering is coming, and we will learn to actually tolerate. Actually, in one lecture Prabhupada was telling, in the context of all the troubles that our devotees were having, I'm sure many of you know, in the early days in Juhu, Mumbai, at that time Bombay. So much of opposition was there, and as you know, people were attacking the temple, etc. And Prabhupada in one lecture was recalling all of the different problems, and then he was telling that the only solution is to actually tolerate so much of this opposition that is there. And when we practice spiritual life, because most people in the world today are not so much understanding, not supporting, so many different types of oppositions will be there. We can expect. Prabhupada would explain how becoming a devotee means to actually declare war on Maya and to expect different types of opposition. Well, the prime example, of course, was last night when we were, how many went to see the Prahlad Maharaj movie? Anyways, a good number of devotees. Okay, we're all there. So I mean, Prahlad Maharaj is a prime example of someone who had to tolerate and experience so much of opposition and suffering. But as we were hearing, that is narrated in the pages of the Bhagavatam, he was understanding that this was all, the arrangement, a higher arrangement, and he would not be blaming others for whatever suffering they were inflicting upon him. So this is the kind of, if we don't develop this kind of mentality or mood, then the suffering in the material world, especially in Kali Yuga, is so heavy, is so unbearable that we cannot bear this type of pressure. So this will be further explained in the narration that will be continuing here. So, by nature, by definition, every time we will take birth in the material world, it is referred to as Mrityu Loka. Material world is the place of death, where Dukhalayam Shasvatam, there is constant suffering for the living entities. So the best course of action is to cultivate this knowledge, keep the good association of devotees, and endeavor to bring for ourselves an end to all kinds of, we suffer because generally of ignorance, isn't it? Because of lack of knowledge. So therefore the importance of cultivating knowledge, which can only be done when we take up nicely, seriously the process of devotional service, and here especially on a regular basis from Srimad Bhagavatam and other literatures. Some questions or comments?
Thanks, Maharaj. Very nice class. You are doing silent surgical operation to all of your disciples to removing our sins and our deliverings.
Yes.
Very thank you, Maharaj. We are such a very lucky persons to have you like you are the Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. We just have to continue hearing from our acharyas. It's all nicely given and explained in the pages of the Bhagavatam especially. We recite every day, isn't it, how the Bhagavatam is our means of conquest That is how we can conquer over our own different limitations and faults, etc. And that is how the whole world can actually become conquered. That's why yesterday, after the program, Sri Ram Prabhu was mentioning about the Bhadra Purnima, which is coming up, where on that special day, it is very considered very auspicious to distribute the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and all of us should be having Bhagavatam in our homes, and it is from the Bhagavatam that we get proper understanding. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay.
How to develop that seva bhavana?
How to develop that seva bhavana? The process of devotional service is such that the more we regularly and attentively and we could say affectionately, the more we apply the process nicely described, especially in the nectar of devotion. Nectar devotion is meant to be our guiding light for practicing Bhakti devotional service. So Prabhupada explains that as we more attentively and more lovingly, more affectionately put into practice whatever we are doing every day, then this level of bhava, which is actually an advanced level, isn't it? There's sadhana bhakti, then bhava bhakti, then prema bhakti, all nicely described by Sri Rupa Goswami. So this bhava, this natural and more spontaneous affection will gradually evolve. We cannot and should not force it. Just like a small child, because he's still small, he can only crawl. Even he can't crawl when he's born. After some months he begins to crawl. Then after crawling for some time, then he starts to venture standing up a little bit, and then slowly starts to walk. So the ability to walk is already there, although not manifest in the early months. So similarly, the natural quality of the soul is to gradually manifest these higher realms, more spontaneous levels of devotion, and that comes like a child actually by practicing. So we continue to practice, and of course always praying for the mercy of the Lord and the blessings of the devotees, and in this way gradually it will evolve. It's a natural development that takes place. Why it takes place more quickly in some and less in others, to a large extent it has to do with, well, partly to our previous activities or previous lives on the one hand, and secondly it is depending on how nicely, how well we are applying the process. And of course ultimately the mercy of Krishna needs to be there for us to rise to the higher realms.
Bharat,
Yes.
sufferings
we usually material life, we are having so many sufferings.
Yes.
The tolerance level, sometimes it will shaken us our bhakti or whatever thing.
Yes, yes.
So how to again...
What is the limit of tolerance? Yes. There is no limit, actually. Yes, we all experience different levels of suffering, and sometimes it becomes seemingly like unbearable or impossible to continue tolerating. By ourselves, actually, yes, there will be breaking points, but that's where we have to increase our dependency on Krishna and pray for His mercy so that we can go beyond what we normally can tolerate, isn't it? So Krishna is there to give us His mercy, and therefore we need to, because ultimately that's what all of us, we need to come to that level of full and complete, never-ending surrender to the Lord, and then Krishna will favor us by giving us the means and the ability by which we can bear so many challenging situations that will come in our lives. Yeah. Thank you all very much. Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande.